chat tool, and you'll notice that I posted a link. We'll pause for about 5 seconds for you all to do that. You'll see that there's a hyperlink that goes to a Google spreadsheet. That's the venue where you folks can ask questions throughout this presentation. Again, our sole purpose today is to review the results of the parent survey, and you can post those questions in the Google chat that's provided in the chat window. So we will try our best to answer questions that come up throughout the presentation. Myself and my colleagues who are on the task force will be able to respond as the presentation goes along. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Patrick Finelli, again, our Community Relations Coordinator. Patrick?
Thank you, Frank, and good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to share my screen and pull up the presentation, which has the survey results. Frank, just shout if there's an issue and it's not popping up.
Sounds good. I can see it at this point.
Okay. And I'm going to provide a little bit of background about the survey. The survey was a follow-up to the regional reopening survey, which was conducted in June as a collaboration among school districts. This survey was conducted on behalf of the Kenton Reopening Task Force. The survey questions were based on a template that was created by a company called Hanover Research, which is a national research and service or a research and analytics service provider. They created this survey template as a national survey that school districts around the country could use. This was important because, you know, anyone who's conducted a survey knows that the questions you ask, the way the questions are worded, the answer choices are all very, very important. And so we wanted to use questions that were designed by experts. There was tremendous interest in the survey. There were 4 different surveys, but the questions, you know, the primary central questions were the same in each. We had over 4,000 participants, including 2,500 parent and guardian participants. This is the first anyone has had a chance to look at the survey results. They will be posted on our reopening website by the end of the week. And so you'll all be able to look at these for each one of the individual surveys. So the staff results, the student results. Today, I'm going to focus on the parent guardian results. With 2,500 responses, that's just it's an enormous sample size. You know, that's bigger than a lot of national polls that are conducted and that you might read about in the news. So a very large sample size. The first question was very interesting to me. We asked, how did you learn about this survey? This was important because, you know, there were many different ways that we communicated the survey. And what this shows us is that it is important that we use multiple communication avenues because, you know, some might have seen it on Facebook, some might have gotten the email, the text, the robocall, some might have only gotten the text, or some might have only gotten the robocall. No one method of communication reaches, you know, 100% of our intended audience. So it is important that we utilize multiple channels of communication. The next series of questions just asked about, you know, basically background and demographics. So I'm going to move through these fairly quickly. The question number 2 was how many children you have enrolled in the schools. The vast majority, 1 or 2 children. You can see here what the breakdown is. And once again, all of these will be posted to the website, the charts, and the aggregate data. So you'll be able to take a look at this and view it separately once it's posted. Question 3 asked for the grade level breakdown, and this is exactly what, you know, we want to see, an even distribution across grade levels, so that all, you know, parents at all grade levels we know are reflected in the survey results. And this is the school breakdown. I just noticed an error. The The 23%, that should be Kenmore West. And this is roughly proportional to student enrollment. So Kenmore West, 23% of respondents had a child attending Kenmore West High School. Kenmore West is our school with the highest enrollment. So very closely proportional to student enrollment. Will your child participate in special education programs and services? 22% said yes, very close to the percentage of students, roughly about 20%, who receive special education services. So again, exactly what we want to see to make sure those are adequately represented in the sample. Small percentage of students parents of students participating in E&L programs, but we wanted to make sure that there were parents of E&L students who were reflected in the survey results. And 23% of respondents had a child participating in a modified JV or varsity sport. And 24% reporting that their child qualifies for free or reduced price breakfast, lunch. And so those were the demographic, the background questions. This was perhaps one of the most important questions on the survey, which was overall, how would you describe your experience with online and distance learning in the spring? The orange and the light blue are positive. The green and the dark blue are negative. And you can see it's very balanced. It's very, respondents were split. Roughly 40% had a positive experience, roughly 40% had a negative experience, and about 20%, were neutral or unsure. The next question asked respondents to rate how much they opposed and supported different options. So school districts in New York State have to plan for 3 different scenarios: a fully online and remote learning environment like we had in the spring, a fully in-person learning environment like we would normally see, and a hybrid model, so something in between that combines different elements of both. The dark green, or the green and the dark blue on the left is opposition, and the light blue and orange to the right is support, and the purple you see on the far right is unsure or no opinion. And what this tells us is that, opinions are mixed. There's strong support and strong opposition for every option. Where the yellow is neither support nor opposed, so the yellow is kind of neutral. So where the yellow is, it kind of tells us, where most people tend to be. With online or remote, it's right in the middle. In person, it's slightly toward the left, which shows there's a little more support than opposition, but still very much mixed, very strong, very, very strong opinions on both sides of the issue. And, as we might expect, a hybrid model, which combines elements of both, there's a greater degree of support, but still, a sizable percentage who oppose it. Now, what that hybrid model might look like, that's something all school districts around the country are looking at. This was a question that was in the national survey. If your children's school adopts a rotation schedule in the fall, to what extent would you support or oppose the following options? And these are 3 different options that have come up, in conversations around the country. A daily rotation would be one in which, in order to reduce capacity in schools, You might have one half of students attending school on Monday, and then the following day, the other half attends. Wednesday would be the first half, Thursday would be the second half. It would be something like that. Another option that's been discussed around the country is a 2-day rotation. You know, what this might look like is Monday, Tuesday, you have one half of students attend. Thursday, Friday, you have the second half of students attend, and Wednesday might be for cleaning. And then a weekly option where half of students attend one week, and then the other half of students attend the following week. And, you know, what this might look like, you know, the other half of students working remotely at home. You know, again, these are all options that are being explored by school districts around the country. But this shows us, you know, where our parents are for each one of these options. What this shows us is that there is more opposition to a weekly rotation than there is support. Daily, it's pretty mixed. 2-day rotation, there would be more support than opposition. But again, people are mixed. You know, opinions vary. Everybody has different perspectives on this. Question 12 asked for participants to express whether they supported or opposed specific safety precautions. All of these had widespread support. The one that had there's 2 slides that have all of the options, this slide and the next slide. You know, face masks, widespread support for the use of face masks. When social distancing is not possible. Mandatory face masks all day, even when social distancing. That was the one precaution that had the least amount of support and the most amount of opposition. Very widespread support for frequent use of hand sanitizer. Same with restructuring schedules to facilitate social distancing during the school day. Staggered arrival dismissal times to spread out students arriving and departing the building. Prioritizing younger students, prioritizing at-risk students, prioritizing students who receive special services, all had widespread support and very little opposition. No attendance at extracurricular activities and events except for participants. That was the safety precaution that had this the second lowest amount of support. Question 13 asked for participants to rate their top 5 concerns if the district was to implement fully online and remote instruction. The top 5 by far were social emotional well-being, engagement and learning, mental and emotional health and wellness, the quality of online instruction, and loneliness and social isolation. Question 14 asked respondents to identify their biggest concerns with fully in-person instruction. And the top 3, and I apologize that the answer choices are not fully, they're not fully spelled out. When these are posted, when you look at these on the website, you'll be able to see the entirety of the question choices. It's just when it generates the charts, it doesn't, it cuts the words off. But the top 3 concerns: school cleanliness to prevent an outbreak, ensuring that social distancing is followed, and ensuring that students and staff wear masks. Those were the top 3 concerns. And the next question, I didn't include it because there were so many answer choices. It asked for the participants to identify their top 7 concerns with a hybrid model, and it basically combines all of those options. And as you might imagine, it's the same we see in these 2 slides. The same 5 concerns: social emotional well-being, mental and emotional, quality of online instruction, loneliness, and then ensuring school cleanliness to prevent an outbreak, ensuring social distancing, ensuring students and staff wear masks. All of those were the biggest concerns for a hybrid model. Question 16 asked a background question. Basically, before the pandemic, were you intending for your child to use school and district provided transportation? And 60% reported yes. Question 17 asked, what are you intending now? And what's interesting is we see 60% of respondents had said prior to the pandemic, they had intended to use district provided transportation. After the as we're in the midst of the pandemic, only 33% say yes. A significant percentage are unsure. But what that tells us is that a higher number, there is a significant number of parents who are likely to not feel comfortable with their children riding the school bus, and that's important to know. We also added this question. This is something that a lot of districts have been exploring recently. One big concern is ensuring safety on the school buses, whether that means, naturally requiring masks, but also the potential for social distancing on a school bus. So the hope was that we could get a kind of a sense of how many parents might be willing to consider making a commitment to decline bus transportation in order to make it easier for the district to reduce ridership and to maximize opportunities for social distancing. And this showed there was a significant percentage of parents who would at least be willing to consider that. And another background question. These questions are very helpful in understanding the backgrounds of the people taking the survey. Ultimately, all school districts are going to have to adhere to very strict guidance from the state. All school districts are going to have to make determinations based on their own unique challenges and circumstances. But what's very helpful with a survey like this is it helps us to understand what the local impact might be, what some of the concerns might be, what some of the issues might be. So the survey closed on Thursday night. So, and this being Tuesday, we haven't had much of a chance to really look at the results. But there's a lot of opportunity for us to, look at, where perspectives are based on different demographics and different backgrounds, and to help us understand some of the, issues parents, guardians, and other respondents are likely to face. Question 20, who would be your child's primary caregiver? More than half of families rely on the parent guardian. And as we see from the previous question, a majority of the parent guardian respondents are either employed outside the home or working from home. And this was a very valuable question. How did your children access online learning materials? So the district distributed approximately 2,000 iPads and Chromebooks in the spring to make sure that students had access to online resources. And this shows us, what options were available to most families. So most families had access to a computer laptop, but 40% did not. 40% needed to rely on either a personal iPad or a district issued device. And this matters because, different devices, you might have unique challenges accessing certain resources if you're using a smartphone as opposed to a computer. And the last question, do you have internet access? And there are, and one of the challenges of an online remote learning environment is not all families have regular internet access. This was the final question. And this was a very important question. Are any members of your household considered to be in a high-risk group for COVID-19? So over the age of 60, underlying health condition. More than a third of respondents said yes, there is a person in their household who's considered to be at high risk for COVID-19. Before I signed on, I had a chance to run a very quick comparison of the survey results. One thing that was interesting, and I think we can learn a little bit more about this, as we closely look at the results. There didn't appear to be very much variation between grade levels and schools. Where there was significant variation based on a first glance was based on the answer to this question. Those who are, and it's probably, as we might imagine, those who have a member of their household considered to be at high risk are much more likely to have had a positive experience with online learning, much more likely to favor remote learning. Obviously much more concern there of your of your child potentially, being exposed to the virus and bringing it home. And so that's it for the survey results. I'm going to end the presentation. But if at any point we wish to go back to any of those slides, we can. And Frank, did it stop presenting for myself?
It did. Yep, you're back. Thank you.
And and once again, all of the results, the charts, like you saw, the tables with the breakdowns, those will all be posted to the website.
Thank you, Patrick. It was a very comprehensive overview, and again, it was overwhelming response from members of our community in responding to the survey. We're very overwhelmed, surprisingly overwhelmed, and happy with all those responses. So there were some questions that came up in the Q&A. So we're trying to populate them to the best of our ability, and I'm just going to review them briefly. You can all see the questions, and again, we are going to post this video presentation on our website. So just to highlight a couple questions, even if New York State says the students must all go back in person, will the district offer a virtual option for families who are not comfortable or who have special needs? Again, we're pretty committed to following the guidance provided by the New York State Education Department with regards to providing reasonable accommodations, especially for students with special needs. So at this point, we are planning for the 3 models of instructional delivery that Patrick described. Will a virtual option mean students being in front of a screen for the entirety of the school day? At this point, that is not the expectation, where we're expecting students to remain in front of a computer screen at their kitchen table or in their home office for the entirety of the day. Teachers will be provided some professional development on how to design virtual lessons. They have had tremendous amount of experience and practice throughout the course of March through June to refine those skills. So no, that is not an expectation that students will be in front of a screen for the entire school day. Again, we would provide accommodations that are required for students with disabilities. especially those who wouldn't be able to tolerate wearing a mask. I'm sure we're going to be able to provide some additional guidance. Folks from our Student Services Office are they're running CSE meetings today, so part of our task force group does involve stakeholders from each of these groups, and we will have a comprehensive plan that will be released later on this week. What training would teachers receive for virtual platforms? So we are still in the process of setting up training with Erie One BOCES, and our instructional support specialists are working hard daily throughout the summer to develop those plans and professional development opportunities for our teachers. We have a wonderful professional development center that provides guidance and support to all of our teachers and administrators that are looking to enhance their skills in any area, particularly with online instructional learning. We haven't yet heard, we haven't received all the guidance yet from BOCES on how our high school students are going to be transported, those that engage in CTE programming. Let's see. Wasn't the guidance from state just updated that masks and social distancing needs be planned for? Not one or the other. Again, we're just following the guidance that was released in the State Education Department's guidance document. Those of you online who had a chance to review it, it was a 145-page document. It was comprehensive in all areas. And there were sections of that that were mandated expectations that districts implement and recommended. So we are ensuring that we adhere to the mandated requirements and embedding those within our district plan. Let's see. My kid will not wear a mask for more than a few minutes. Will he be able to attend school? Again, we're looking into how we can incorporate masks, breaks following the guidance documents from the Department of Health and the State Education Department. The cleaning plan, I don't have the details to the cleaning plan, but I know our buildings and grounds and nursing staff are working on developing those as part of our plan. Again, our goal is to kind of wrap things up on our required submission of the plan, which is by the end of the week. So all of those details will be released. Our task force does meet again in the next, actually tomorrow, where we're going to be able to kind of get a better handle on these elements, some of these questions related to cleanliness. At this point, what I'll do is I'm going to keep the Q&A document open, but I know a few of us who are on the task force on this session right now do have to step out. I sincerely appreciate everyone who participated. I'd also like you all to know that you were highly recommended by your child's school administrators. This wasn't a random selection by myself, but your school principals and teachers in your child's school did recommend you folks to participate in this virtual cafe and an opportunity to kind of get a glimpse before others in the community as to where we're at with our plan and the survey results. So I want to thank you all again and have a wonderful rest of the week. God bless.